If you've been scrolling through endless listings, watching a dozen how-to videos and still can't decide which handheld plastic welder actually makes sense for your garage projects, this review is meant to clear that up. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've spent the last few weeks testing a few different models on everything from garden hose repairs to a cracked car dashboard trim, and I finally settled on the WELDY Handheld Plastic Extrusion Welding Machine Kit, the EX3. Before we dive in, remember the link is in the description so you can see the exact specs and price right now. Let's start with the big question most people have: do I really need a hot air plastic welder, or am I better off just buying a new part? The answer depends on three things: the material you're working with, how often you'll be doing the work, and whether you're comfortable handling a hot air gun that can reach 300 C. I've seen hobbyists waste a weekend trying to patch a vinyl tarp with epoxy, only to have the patch peel off when the sun gets hot. A proper plastic extrusion welder like this one avoids that problem because it actually melts the surrounding material, creating a seamless bond. The WELDY EX3 is a compact, pistol grip unit that plugs into a standard 110V outlet. It comes with a set of interchangeable nozzles ranging from 4mm to 12mm, which means you can tackle thin vinyl sheets as well as thicker PVC pipe. The first thing I noticed when I fired it up was the relatively quick heat-up time, about 45 seconds to reach operating temperature. For a garage tool that you'll probably use intermittently, that's a real time saver. If you're the type who likes to keep a tool in the drawer and pull it out only when you need it, the warm-up delay is minimal. Now, who should actually buy this machine? If you're a DIY enthusiast who regularly repairs or modifies plastic components, think garden equipment, automotive interior trims, aquarium acrylic paints, or even custom 3D-printed parts, the EX3 gives you a level of control you just don't get with superglue or solvent welds. It's also a decent entry point for small-scale hobbyists who want to experiment with creating their own plastic joints, kind of like a mini industrial extruder you can hold in one hand. On the flip side, if you only need to fix a single cracked PVC pipe once a year, you'll probably get more bang for your buck buying a replacement pipe and a basic coupler. The machine's value disappears when the usage frequency drops below a few times a year. One practical strength that shows up in real use is the adjustable airflow. The EX3 lets you turn the fan speed from low to high while keeping the temperature steady. In my tests, the low setting worked wonders on thin vinyl roofing membranes. The heat was enough to melt the seam without scorching the surrounding material. When I moved on to thicker ABS panels for a custom shelving project, the high-speed airflow kept the melt pool from drooping, so the joint stayed clean and flat. That dual control is something you don't see on many lower-priced handheld welders, and it makes a noticeable difference when you're trying to keep a neat weld line. Another point that often trips people up is the nozzle swapping process. The kit includes a quick-release collar that clicks the nozzle into place, and you can change nozzles without turning the machine off. In practice, that means you can switch from a fine 4mm tip for delicate vinyl repairs to a wider 10mm nozzle for filling gaps in a PVC pipe in under a minute. The only downside is that the collar can feel a bit loose if you're applying side pressure while welding. You'll want to hold the gun steady and let the nozzle sit snugly before you start moving. It's a small ergonomic detail, but it does affect the smoothness of the final weld. Because this is a handheld unit, temperature control is entirely manual. There's no digital readout. You set the temperature dial and trust the gauge. For most hobby applications that's fine, but if you need precise repeatability, say you're fabricating parts for a small-scale prototype where tolerances matter, you might find the lack of an LED display a bit limiting. In my experience, a little trial and error with a scrap piece of the same material gives you a reliable sweet spot after a few runs. Once you've dialed it in, the welds are consistent, which is why I recommend doing a quick test on a spare piece before you commit to the final joint. Now, let's talk about the practical weaknesses. The biggest gripe I heard from other users is the cord length. At roughly 6 feet, the power cord can be a nuisance when you're working around a large vehicle or in a tight workshop corner. You'll either need an extension cord or have to reposition your workpiece more often than you'd like. It's not a deal breaker, but it does add an extra step to the workflow. Another limitation is the lack of